I want to tell you a story. Every single day for 10 years, a man would walk down to the river and observe the ducks. And whilst observing the ducks, nearby, within running distance, someone would start screaming, "Help, help!" And they were drowning in the river. And every day, for 10 years, he would jump in the river fully clothed and drag the drowning person out. Every day, for 10 years, this happened. And one day, he was sitting at home observing a kookaburra in the tree. He seemed to like birds, ducks, kookaburras, the whole thing. He's like, why is it that every day someone's drowning? What happens upstream? What happens up there? How do they get in the river in the first place? Because I never see them walk down to the bank. I never see them jump in. I never see them go for a swim. They just end up near me in the river drowning. So something must be happening upstream. So the next day, he went to the river, he observed the ducks, and he started to walk left upstream. And no sooner had he taken 2 steps, the person was already drowning in the river. And so he realized it was too late by the time he went to look for the ducks. So the next day he got up early and he drove upstream. And he saw that upstream there was this person pushing people off a bridge into the river. You see, a lot of people try to fix the problem where the problem is. You actually have to go to the root of the problem. And this is all about what is the why. So people love to talk about, and look, we're going to borrow some of Simon Sinek's stuff here, right? So people look at what they do, then they look at how they do it, and then they look at why they do it. The truth is nothing can change unless you go why first. So this man, he was doing the saving people in the river. But why were they falling in there in the first place? He had to go upstream and deal with the why. Once he stopped the person pushing them in the river, guess what? No one else tried to drown, and he didn't have to get his clothes wet every single day of the week. So what we're talking about today is how do you find your why? And I love that because a lot of people think your why has to be this big, massive motivational driver and that you then have to do the what and the how that goes along with it. Sometimes it's a deeper values-driven driver. Actually, most of the time it's a deeper values-driven driver. And rather than operating according to your why, you're actually operating through your why. And this is the difference between success and failure in business. If you're operating through your why, if you're doing it for all the right reasons, your why, then you're going to keep doing it forever and ever. Whereas if you're just doing it for money or kudos or because someone said to or because you invested some money in a business startup idea, then the why isn't strong enough to keep you going through the difficult times. Right? It's the same outside of business. If you've got a why to be in your relationship, for example, then your relationship is always going to be looked at through the lens of that why. However, if you just do it in the relationship because someone should love you, then that's not really the point. You've got to do it for your why because that will keep you going through the hard times. And so I want to explore today how a why is much more than a goal and the kind of values drivers that let us really attach to our why rather than just coming up with a why statement. Because I think in our coaching in the past, we've said to people, what's your why? And they say something like, because I want $10,000 months. Or you go, what's your why? And they go, because I just want to prove to myself I can do it. And it's like, can we go a lot deeper than these kind of surface, like they're surface level responses, right? So how do we get down into that deep level and how do we recognize that it's far more than a goal?
Yeah, I feel like I love that upstream metaphor and like I distinctly remember the first time I heard it. I was in a leadership program with Red Cross Australia and it was years and years ago. At the time I was running workshops for teenagers in high schools and was deeply passionate about giving tools and resources to young people so they could have agency and take control of their lives. And then I heard that metaphor. I was in this leadership program with people all over Australia and I'm sitting on this Zoom call, someone states this metaphor and I'm sitting there like, oh my God, I'm pulling people out of the river.
Yeah.
And it hit me like a freaking ton of bricks. And I was like, oh my God, I need to do something more. And it wasn't until that, like, hearing that and learning that metaphor and really feeling the metaphor instead of just hearing it, that made me go, oh, okay, I need to coach adults, because it's actually the adults that are unconsciously like creating it and pushing their children into the metaphorical river and giving them or passing down these negative thought patterns and negative habits, negative programming that's impacting them for their whole lives to come. And whilst I could go in and do one workshop day with teenagers, it wasn't enough to elicit change over the course of their life. So I had to go to the root. It completely changed my life hearing that.
Yeah, I think that everyone loves being the guy pulling people out of the river.
Well, this is the thing. You get more kudos.
You get the hero status, right?
Yes, you really do.
Oh, wow, you saved them from drowning. Yay, you.
Yeah.
And people, they crave recognition.
Yeah.
And they crave acknowledgement.
Absolutely.
And so if you might be listening to this and you've already realized that you're currently pulling people out of the river. The thing is the glory work happens pulling people out of the river. The hard work and the work that often goes unrecognized is stopping the person pushing them off the bridge, because it's a much deeper, harder, less socially attractive thing to do.
Absolutely. And I think for self as well, like absolutely there is less recognition when you go upstream.
Yeah.
And I think for self, you don't see it because you don't see what could have happened, right? Like you don't get that ability to go, oh, if we didn't coach this person or if we didn't give this adult these resources to be a better parent or a more present partner or better leader in the workplace, if that didn't happen, then you don't get to have a little peep down the timeline of, oh, but if you didn't help them, this is what would have carried out, right? Yeah. And so, yes, there's this like positive impact that happens, but because you never see the negative, you haven't got that contrast, so you don't see it.
Yeah, and you have to just look to the people who are pulling people out of the river and go, what's causing that problem and how do I manage that at the root cause, right? So you see a whole lot of, like one great example I see is charity balls.
Yeah.
You know?
Donate to diss me on my charity ball.
No, I'm not, because at that time you were pulling people out of the river.
I was, very much so.
And so the thing is, you run a charity ball or you run a charity golf day or something like that, and you raise money or raise awareness for a problem. And that's beautiful, and it definitely contributes. However, what if we stopped the problem in the first place?
Yeah, literally.
You know, like one thing in health, you all know I have a background in nursing and medicine, and one of the things that used to frustrate me is if you put a neonatal baby on a picture and asked for donations, tiny little, 24, 25 weeker on a ventilator, everyone gave money. But if you put an old person laying in a bed alone, looking like they were about to die and asking for funding for that, you got nothing.
Yep.
And the truth is if the hospital system was funded better overall, then it would be better for the older person and the younger person.
Yeah.
And so how could we change what was happening? And the thing is that we had to make it so that there were less neonatal challenges in order to get funding at the other end of the scale, because everyone loves a cute little baby.
Yeah.
Right? And so we looked at, well, how do we actually prevent premature delivery? And that's where the research into stopping those early pregnancies going into labour actually started, because initially it was like, hey, look, we can save these babies. Look, we've created the technology and the pharmaceuticals and the environment that we can save a 24-weeker. And get it through to adulthood. But the problem is what was causing the pregnancy to want to go into labour at 24 weeks? And so eventually the research started there. And yes, there's a place for neonatal intensive care. However, there's far more a place for managing pregnancies in a better way.
Yeah, absolutely.
That we never end up with that, high risk environment.
Yeah.
And so how do we do this in our own life when we're wanting to help people? Because I know a lot of people who are listening to this podcast, you really want to help people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you may find yourself listening to it going, actually, I am just pulling people out of the river, and how do I change it at the root cause?
And you likely have like the best intentions, and even just then talking about the gala ball, it's like I distinctly remember like standing on stage, looking out at 300 plus people and being so proud of myself for bringing people together, and then standing there a second longer and realising as much as they wanted to support me, they wanted to get drunk
Yeah.
And they just wanted to have a great night out, which is great for them because there's a win-win in that. They get that. And then I got money to give to the charity. However, I remember standing there going, these people don't give a shit.
They don't care.
They don't give a shit about this cause that I care so deeply about. And
They're just looking for the tax write-off.
Yeah, which like we've all been there. I mean, anything for a tax write-off. In the same breath though, it's that like, okay, like in that moment I can absolutely go back and drop into my body in that moment and go, oh God, that was another moment where I'm like, I need to go upstream.
Yeah.
Because it's not what, and everyone was giving me this recognition. So I can see I'm pulling people out of the river and they're going, oh my God, Caity, look what you created. Like I won freaking awards for that gala.
Yeah.
And I hated it. I hated winning awards for it. I'm like, it didn't work.
It didn't
no
do
one
the thing.
listened.
Yeah.
Like, sure, we gave money, but like that's not enough. Like it needs to be more. And so if you are somebody that's pulling people out of the river right now, kudos to you. And you get to go deeper and you get to have the impact that you're so deeply craving.
Because what's the actual why?
Yes.
The actual why is to have the result not happen, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't want whatever's happening. Like at that charity ball, I think it was, what was it for?
Domestic violence, sexual assault victims.
Yes, right? So no one wants that to happen to anyone.
Yeah.
And people are all about offering them support after it's happened, giving money at a charity ball to hopefully raise awareness.
Yeah.
Like everyone's about that. How many people walking down the street on a Saturday night that see someone yelling at a young woman or a young man, because let's face it,
It can
happens
go both ways.
ways.
Yeah.
Right? How many times would you intervene?
Yeah.
How many times would you ring the police? How many times would you actually say, hey, are you okay? And the truth is everyone's walking around scared to get involved. However, getting involved is how we stop people pushing people off the bridge.
Yeah,
and I
literally.
find myself in these situations often, and my poor husband is like, can you not? And it's like, no, I'm going to, because if that was me, I would hope that someone like me would come along and intervene.
Yeah, there's actually I've been seeing this quite a bit on social media. There's like skits, for lack of a better word, or like companies that are essentially like filming certain scenarios to see what the public's reaction is.
Yeah.
And there was this one I saw the other day of this girl, there's this like hand signal, like it's like this or something. I had never seen it before. Anyway, it was like signifying that she was in danger and she'd like tap somebody over the escalator and put her hand behind her back and did that. And this like beautiful young, like early 20s, like brave woman, she like turns around, she sprints up the escalator and she like fully confronts this young man. And then like the film crew come out, they're like, no. And she's like, oh, like, thank God. And she's like, of course I would. Like as if I wouldn't. And so there definitely are people that will. And the question to the listeners is, would you?
Yeah. Like how bold can you be? And this is a whole other podcast, is where is boldness gone?
Yeah.
Right? Like, and we should write that down.
Yeah, write
Whatever
that
happened
down.
to boldness? Can you write that down? Podcast producer man. Literally, he's sitting there with
Literally
his headphones
not
on.
listening at all.
Not listening at all.
That's fun. We love
So
it.
anyway, boldness is what we want to talk about another time. However, how bold would you be? How would you actually move into a situation like that, knowing that you can hold yourself strong?
Yeah.
Knowing that you're not in danger, knowing that you can actually make a difference, because that's where you're attacking the person pushing off the bridge.
Yes.
Rather than having to rescue. And this is huge. We're just going to go off on a tangent.
We are. This is what we do best.
This whole thing was going to be about finding your why, and I think we've covered that. Like, go deeper.
Yeah,
right?
literally.
But the thing is that like as we move through this and we go, okay, we're going to confront the guy on the bridge. Like, how are you solid enough to know that they're going to actually stop? How can you be so sure of yourself and your intention and your availability in the world to be that person who wants to help? Because a lot of people say they want to help, and they actually don't help. And there's definitely been times in my life where I've helped and people say I help too much, right? Like someone has a baby and in the middle of the night their baby's crying and they can't stop it and they don't really know me that well, but someone will ring me and say, hey, this person needs help. I will get out of my bed, even now, and go and help them, right? Like I will sit with someone who's crying in a train station. I've sat on a tram with a guy who's so messed up on speed that everyone else is, running around trying to avoid him because he's crazy. And then I finally just said, hey, have you called your mum lately? How do you actually help?
Yeah.
Instead of just saying you'll help.
And the bystander effect is so real. Like I remember like doing there's so
everything
much. Yeah, there's so much like training on it in a corporate setting. There's like, I remember like doing trainings on it at school when I used to run school programs. Other people that ran programs were doing trainings for students specifically around the bystander effect and how, so like energetically there is like, you've got to push through that, like that barrier of, it's almost like a weighted blanket of like, no, we watch, we stay safe, we stay out of it, we keep clear. And you've got to have the boldness and the courage and the conviction to go, no.
Not on my watch.
Yeah, not on my watch.
Right, and I think that this, for me, this kind of attitude comes from having had a grandfather who was in World War II, right? And the stories of camaraderie and the stories of absolute mateship when it came to stopping people getting killed.
Yeah.
You know, like he knew how to stop someone get killed. And so his daringness to enter into enemy territory to stop someone getting killed, there were lots of positive stories about that in my childhood where it was like, if you can do something to help, you should help.
Yeah, I was being Anzac Day recently. I was in New Zealand and we went to the dawn service and it was so phenomenal and so beautiful to be in New Zealand for that. Like they give so much praise to Australia. It was actually gorgeous. And there was this young girl that delivered a speech, like they'd had a competition and she got to deliver a speech and her great uncle, I think it was, or distant family member had been in the war and she was retelling his stories through his diary.
Yeah.
And it was phenomenal. And like one of the biggest messages that was driven home throughout the whole morning was like that it's never about you, it's about your mate. So stop thinking about yourself and start thinking about the person next to you and just do everything you can to look after them. And there was this one specific story that she shared that like I literally talked about it all day. I'm like, I cannot get this out of my head, where he was gone out and he's like in the trenches and he's collecting bodies essentially and going to find his fallen mates. And he crosses over into enemy territory and there's a soldier from the enemy who waves him across to collect his mate instead of firing. And I'm like, that is just the most human story ever in those instances where like he's brave enough, one, to have conviction to go, I'm going to go and save my mate. And then the other guy who's meant to be opposing him is like, go.
Yeah.
Like, do what you need to do.
I think there's so many of those stories from the war where there were soldiers on both sides that were just following orders.
Yeah. God. And that's
yet they would...
It again, right?
I know my grandfather definitely had a meal once with the enemy.
Yeah.
Because they had no food. It was freezing cold. And they saw them and they went, hey, we can share.
Yeah.
You know?
It gives me goosebumps.
And then the next day they were fighting each other again. However, they were doing it because they were following orders.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that this is the thing is people who are being bystanders at the moment are actually following orders.
Yeah, they're following that societal, like, this is how it has to be done.
This is not ours. This is not your business.
Stay out of it. Stay in your own lane.
Yeah. And yet, as humans, we actually developed... The way that we are is actually to be group beings.
Yes.
We're not meant to be isolated or siloed or in our own individual little house with no one talking to us. We're actually supposed to be in community.
Yeah.
And in community, people help each other. And when you're walking along the road in your local town, right, and you see someone that's in trouble, if you walk past, what happened to you?
Yeah.
What happened to you to make you think that it's okay to let a fellow human experience something terrible and for you to just walk past?
Yeah.
Like this is a call out for all of you listening right now. Like, are you willing to actually help people? Because I know you say you want to help people. I know you probably donate to charity. Like, I remember when I very first became a single mother, one of the biggest things that I struggled with was that I was no longer able to do any kind of community service because I had to look after my kids.
Yeah.
So I didn't have someone to look after my kids and I couldn't go and help people. And I'd always donated time because I didn't have enough money.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember at that time, you know, I was like, well, I guess I have to just do it with money at the moment because I can't physically go and do it. And so I would donate money every week to a charity. And I remember someone saying to me, what, you just put $2 into the charity every week? And I was like, yeah, mate, but for the last 10 years, I've been at the front face.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so yes, my $2 is valuable. It's not a small charity offering for me at that time. There are definitely seasons in your life where you're not going to be able to be at the cold face. And there's definitely a need for people to pull people out of the river.
Absolutely. Yeah.
However,
both
how
need to
many
exist.
people actually are wanting to be committed to stopping them being pushed in the first place, or committed to teaching people how to swim?
Yeah. How can you do both?
Yeah, one or the other. And
Yeah.
stop having to pull them out of the river.
Yeah, definitely. I even think now, like, I know that I shared this with you because I just got my little like pack today of this beautiful child that I've started sponsoring in Australia through the Smith family. And I'm so like excited to do it. And though, like even like having this conversation, I'm like, okay, that's amazing. I'm able to do that. And more than anything, like it's, for those that are unaware, it's essentially sponsoring a child so that they have the school, like all their school fees are paid and they have the resources to be able to go to school, go on excursions.
In a bag and
all of that kind of stuff. And though, more than anything, I want to help people make money.
Yes.
I want to help like women, specifically women, men too, but specifically women that are in this like low socioeconomic demographic, make money.
Yeah.
Figure out what their zone of genius is and go full tilt into it, because I know that they can. I know that they can create a life of abundance.
Yeah.
And I know that it's the limitations that they've got on themselves, and it's their thought patterns and it's their programming and it's their like lack of choice or perceived lack of choice that's stopping them from creating a different life, right? And I know that that's the work that we do so passionately and so like with so much conviction.
Yeah.
And me helping, like that's me going upstream, like the work I do on a day-to-day basis.
Yes.
Me sponsoring this child is me getting in the river.
Yes.
And going,
I can help
there's
you.
one. I can pull that one out.
Yeah.
And most of the time I'm upstream. So sometimes you're able to do both.
And it's nice to do both. It's
Yeah,
nice to get
and
that little bit of recognition downstream.
This is the thing. It's just it's a nice feeling, right?
Yeah.
And then it's that piece of like,
The feeling upstream is not nice, just for anyone who's thinking about it. It is not nice to go to the cold face and
awful.
actually prevent the problem,
yeah,
right? And everyone knows prevention's better than cure, but everyone focuses all their time and attention on the cure. So here's the thing. If you want to be upstream, you're going to have to face the aggressor that's pushing them into the river.
yeah.
And let me be really clear with you. When it comes to people, they're often pushing themselves into the river because they don't have the tools and the resources, right? And so while Caity's sponsoring this child, she's sponsoring her to have more resources, yeah? But in that, it's getting administration fees.
Yeah.
You got a pack. Obviously, some of your donation paid for the pack.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot, and anyone who knows about charities knows that there's so much diverted to all the other stuff that the percentage that goes through is less than what is desired.
Yes,
Yeah?
absolutely.
Whereas if you are out there on the street, potentially, like let's say this child that you're sponsoring, I don't know about her, but I'm just going to make something up for the podcast. Like let's say her mother's a drug addict and that's why there's no money for school things. If we can go and stand and stop that woman
Oh my God.
accessing drugs
Yeah.
and then impact her mindset so that she doesn't feel she needs the drugs, then that woman and that child and generational change happens rather than just one girl getting resources for school. And that's what we're talking about. Like, how can you go deeply into your why and then actually be bothered to invest your life in it?
Yeah, literally. And it's a commitment. Yeah. It's a full commitment, and it's getting me emotional. I told you this morning I'm emotional.
This is a pretty emotional topic. Like this is actually our life's purpose that we're talking about.
Yeah.
So there's a saying that I remember when I used to do network marketing of your why should make you cry.
Yeah.
And it is. That's perfect.
Yeah. Because it's this like, it's so fucking important, and I want everyone to go upstream, and I realize that not everybody like maybe has the resources right now to have that like courage and conviction to do so, because you've got to have resilience and
Absolutely.
you definitely have to have grit, because holy shit, sometimes it's been awful.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time it's great because largely we get to do a lot of it together.
Yes.
We get to do it with other people that we really love and care about. And so we're doing it largely with a community of people that are all upstream.
Yes.
And all like fighting the good fight, you know?
Yeah.
And in that though is this like, I want more people to come up. So I'm like, okay, a question that you can ask yourself if you are listening to this podcast and you're like, okay, I can totally recognize that I'm downstream and I'm pulling people out of the river.
Yeah.
Is to ask yourself, what had to happen for this person to be in this circumstance? What had to happen for this to be the current reality that I'm wanting to help right now? And then see what you can do upstream.
And the bit that I would say to just round it off is, how is that you?
Yeah.
So that person who's drowning in the river, how are they a reflection of you? And can you clean it up in yourself so that you can clean it up in them, right? If you're worried about having courage to stop it at the top of the stream, then do something about that, right? And that's where our integrated NLP training is so useful, because we're healing the healers and we're preventing the upstream problem, right? It's like it's this multi-layered approach, and it all comes from a deep sense of purpose and a deep sense of values that are important to us, one of which I think we share deeply is community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? It's like, how do we all get to work together to build life in the way that we want to see it? Because the world changes as you change.